Right, so we're back with the microbits, and now what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at how we actually code them with Python. And so the first step is to get to the Python editor. So I'm going to Google, we're going to click in here, and we're just going to search for microbit Python editor. Just find that, so we've got that. And what we want is this top one here. So we just click on that, and here we are, loaded into the editor. And you can see some familiar bits. We've got our virtual microbit here on the right-hand side of the screen this time. We've also got various other options down here to do with the buttons, the microphone input, compass, temperature, light, the motions, and you can see we've got different ones to control those. Pins being pressed, the logo being pressed as well as the serial editor, which we'll come to, and rows that are being data logged. We've got our coding window here in the middle, so you can see very different. We can see our line numbers here, and we've got our text written in. And this particular piece of code here will actually just display this message microbit across the screen, and that's just going to scroll around. You can see we just had to click play. It doesn't auto run constantly like on the MakeCode one. We're going to click play. It's there. Over here, we've got our reference library. There are all sorts of other bits to do with APIs and ideas. We're going to focus mainly on here, and you can see a bit like in the MakeCode, we've got various different sections for the display, for variables, for buttons, loops, logic, the accelerometer, the mass things, for lists and arrays, light level, the radio. We've got all those things, and we're familiar with what the menus mean. How they're going to present themselves is different, and that's something we'll look at. Before we go into detail about how to actually write our text-based code, the first thing we're just going to look at is where we find the information, the two different ways we can put it in, and a type of error that you won't have come across before. So here we've got it in, and something that's really quite important is these first two lines is whatever our code is, those always have to be here. Now in Python, we can import libraries or modules or bits from libraries, and that's what this is here. This is bringing into Python all of the information that it needs to know about the microbit so we can actually use it. Without this, none of your code is going to run. So if you do go through as you work through and you're deleting things or you're writing things from scratch, this needs to be in. If it's not there, nothing is going to work. And then we can come down and we've got our various bits here. So we'll come back to variables later because they work slightly differently in terms of the way we put them in here. But if we look at display, we've got our options here to display built-in images, scroll, show, make your own images, clear the display, turn on random pixels. And we go through, we can look, we've got various bits here, and we can type this in. Or what you can do as you start to get used to things is you can drag it and it will put that code in, which is absolutely fine. You might find once you start writing things more, actually what you've got to do is think about where it is, and it's not necessarily a case of just dragging it in and putting it in the place. You might put it in somewhere where it isn't going to work. And obviously what we want is all our code to be able to work. So we start with something just basic and just having text appear on the screen. And we're going to get rid of all of that. So this is our equivalent of using a start block. So the code that goes in here is going to run once. It's not going to keep repeating. We've not put a loop in. So keeping it organized, sometimes it's quite nice to leave gaps between sections of your code. It just means as you're looking through it, you can see what's there. Now, we're going to use the display. So we go onto here, and obviously various different things. But obviously we've got scroll and show, the two different things. But I want display.scroll. So I'm just going to drag that in. We'll talk more about how we write this, but we don't want the number. I just want the text. And we're going to force an error here. I'm going to take out one of the speech marks, and you see instantly we've got this red thing, and it says string not closed, missing quotation mark. And we've got this red dot here. It tells me this line is wrong, and this is a syntax error. It's the grammar of our program. So it's to do with things like capital letters, full stops, other symbols. Now I can put that back in there, and if I click play, that's going to scroll. So that's how we get to the editor. It shows you what text-based coding is. Come back for part 2, and we'll actually look at how we use all of these different display options, and specifically focusing on this making your own image. And this is the same as the show LEDs block, but we'll talk more about that next time.